This week in Destiny for August 14th, Bungie is buffing Warlocks into Oblivion. That might be an over-exaggeration, but there's a lot of awesome changes if you're a Warlock and more to come in the coming weeks for the other classes. Standing and Empowering Rift now generates grenade, melee, and class energy over time. Changes to Weave Walk and Woven Mail. Even increasing fragment slots from 2 to 3 and much more. Welcome Guardians, let's talk about Solstice, these Warlock changes, and much more. So this is the final week for the Solstice event. If you haven't been around Destiny for a while, this event is actually worth it. They removed Bonfire Bash and it's just replaced with a Crucible mode, but you can earn an epic solar armor set and some rewards just by playing anything. Players are also getting some good tier drops when it comes to activities. Bungie says time flies when you're having fun under the tower's summer sun, but Solstice is wrapping up soon. And we wanted to give you a friendly nudge to make sure you're not missing out on any of those sweet rewards. If you've been putting off finishing the event reward track and grabbing those holofoil versions of Yeartide Apex, Festival Flight, or Fortunate Star, now's the time to dive in before the event wraps up on August 19th. Let's now talk about what most of you are probably here for, the Warlock Abilities Tuning Preview for 9.1.0, which I believe is Ashen Iron's update. Warlocks and their space magic abilities. We're seeing some great usage of Warlock constructs such as Child of the Old Gods, Bleak Watcher, Hellion, Arc Soul, and Ionic Century. In the near future, we're planning to enable deeper build crafting with these constructs. Additionally, a few builds are starting to stand out, like the Prismatic build leveraging Lightning Surge to effectively delete champions at a moment's notice. While they are happy with how players are building into the above abilities, they're also seeing feedback and working on a handful that aren't felt to be as potent. This limits variety in build crafting, and they're looking to address that. A few strand abilities don't shine as brightly as they wish, a handful of exotic bugs need some fixes, and they're aware that players desire more grenade-centric builds to feel powerful in endgame content. Bungie is planning a tuning pass for Ashen Iron, also known as Major Update 9.1.0, coming in early September. They are still testing these changes and finalizing how everything should work. Some things may shift, but these are their first steps in helping Warlocks feel a bit more love for their space magic. Hunters and Titans, don't fret, they'll be back in the next couple of weeks to discuss some more changes, so you won't be left out. But starting first with Empowering Rift, the class ability. Standing in Empowering Rift now generates grenade, melee, and class ability energy over time. Final blows while standing in Empowering Rift now generate bonus special and heavy ammo progress. So that's a pretty big change, getting players to switch up from those healing rifts, and it gives you energy for all three, which is pretty cool. For the Weave Walk strand aspect, exiting Weave Walk now grants Woven Mail for you and nearby allies. Woven Mail duration is relative to the time spent in Weave Walk. They've increased horizontal movement on enter and exit, and increased the fragment slots from 2 to 3. Weaver's Call strand and prismatic aspect now generates roosted threadling progress when giving damage of any type. Threadling damage now returns class ability energy. Works on all threadling damage while this aspect is equipped. For the Stasis aspect, freezing enemies now generates class ability energy. This works on all stasis freezes while the aspect is equipped. And lastly, for Pocket Singularity, Void and Prismatic Melee, now has 2 charges at base. Projectile lifetime increased from 1.1 seconds to 2. Reworked projectile tracking to favor targets closest to initial trajectory. And reduced detonation knockback on players by 50%. So overall, some pretty nice changes for Warlocks. Let me know how you feel in the comments down below. I mainly play Hunter, don't really play the other 2 classes, but some of these do seem pretty big. For exotic armor, Eunoia, increased projectile damage at max range from 15% to 20%. Tune distance to damage curve to make the maximum damage distance easier to identify. Increase projectile tracking by 40%, And in addition to the primary projectile, the sub-projectiles now benefit from Ember of Ashes and Ember of Eruption. For general abilities, there's just one change to Threadlings, increased damage versus combatants by 20%. And along with these, there's a bunch of upcoming fixes. A few weeks ago, they examined feedback and bug reports for a few notable exotics. They wanted to provide a brief update on some of these investigations. They've already updated a few in prior patch notes, so these represent the remaining upcoming changes. For Starfire, they confirmed an issue where it was not returning as much energy as expected on empowered hits. They fixed it, raising it to the intended 5%. Crown of Tempest are looking into an issue where it no longer grants stacks on multi-kills. They're aiming to have a fix when Renegades goes live. Rhymecoat Raiment. They're looking at an issue where the exotic generated stasis crystals inconsistently apply Devour when Feed the Void is active. They believe they're honing in on a fix for Renegades as well. Boots of the Assembler, there's an issue where the Noble rounds won't work on a teammate that enters a Warlock Rift. Fix in Ashen Iron. Wings of Sacred Dawn, they've concluded that they missed a patch note with the Edge of Fate's release. It is intended that Wings no longer reloads your equipped weapon, as this led to some problematic behaviors around single-shot magazine weapons such as bows. Controverse Hold, they received some reports that this doesn't return energy as expected, and after investigation, they believe this to be true specifically with some combatants in the firing range only. They're looking to update the firing range combatants in a future update. And lastly, for Nezarec Sin, they saw some reports of the regeneration buff no longer working during multi-kill streaks, and believe this may be resolved in 9.005 alongside the sprint bug. And lastly, we talk about Crucible power and rewards. Earlier this week, Bungie shipped update 9.006 with a handful of changes targeting post-match reward frequencies. In addition to raising the reward floor to have less disparity between low and high skill, here is a list of issues they fixed with that update. Everyone in a match now has a chance to earn an additional role, as opposed to one player per team. The competitive playlist weapon, Solemn Remembrance, has a chance to drop on completion instead of wins. They lowered the B-grade score threshold for reward ranks Copper and Bronze, power 10 to 300. And increased the gear for B+ at reward ranks Bronze and Silver, power 200 to 400. They have more changes coming in the Ashen Iron update they are making to Crucible ops to make it more rewarding for players, along with targeted adjustments for early power bans. Increasing bonus drop frequency when playing Crucible ops. Increasing the amount of score earned on losses. Retuning score thresholds for all grades at reward ranks Copper and Bronze, which is power 10 to 300, to make earning higher power and gear tier more consistent. Increasing the highest potential gear tier at reward ranks Copper, Bronze, and Silver, and increasing power adjusters for PvP, power 10 to 300. But Guardians, that wraps up the bulk of Destiny 2 news for this week in Destiny for August 14th. If you'd like to see some more Destiny news, lore, and mysteries just like this video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.